Hi guys, welcome back. It's Dr. Justin Buerta, the Tattoo Business Doc. Don't forget we've got a website and an email and a WhatsApp number. You're welcome to send your notes, your, when you're a keyboard warrior and let's just say you think your English is much better than mine. But yeah, I'm Afrikaans, so it's the second language. Now, there are five primary Sharia prohibitions enshrined in the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, first and foremost, like I have explained before, is riba, usury or interest. As discussed, you cannot charge interest or earn interest. Then there's qarar. Now, that's excessive ambiguity. This is where contractual terms is uncertain or unacceptable and leads to price uncertainty or questionable delivery dates. In essence, the contract is not realistic and have clear terms of game. The contract must be realistic and have clear terms of engagement. Speculation or gambling, Moisur. Gambling, you won't find an Islamic person in a gambling place because they may not gamble because you cannot win money under Sharia law because wealth by mere chance or non-productive speculation is prohibited. Now this is very important because some of the investments I'm working with, where we work with Dubai and those kind of countries in the Islamic banking and finance. Now, when they invest in companies in South Africa, and trust me, there's a lot of investment happening in South Africa, Donald Trump has done one thing. He's established a new world order. The world's moving away from America because the world has for far too long done business with America because America was put on the top of the list and seen as gods and everything else. So everybody ran to America because it's the biggest economy, this, that, next thing. And when Trump started with his tariffs and with his wars with different countries, even South Africa, when South Africa was kicked out of the G20, South Africa had to go elsewhere. So yes, we've fallen into the laps of the Chinese, balls to the walls with the Chinese, but the Arabs have also come to South Africa because as America and Europe have companies have exited South Africa, the Arab world's come in. And it's not a bad thing. It's really not a bad thing. If they truly believe in the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the prohibitions which is enshrined in Sharia law and the Quran, then you know what? They are good business partners to have. Because they don't speculate, they don't gamble. The contracts tells you exactly what they want and how they want it, and obviously how you want it, and you've got to be exceptionally specific. So there's no ambiguity, or anything that you don't know. And then there's no exploitation. Khawan is prohibited. It's exploitation by price manipulations, which is unfair, or exploiting the weak, the poor, and the uneducated. All right? So listen to that. No exploitation of the weak, the poor, or the uneducated. They don't believe in it. They believe they must help you. You know, if you go to Dubai, my producer was just telling me about Dubai, where people that were homeless, they were given homes. Yes, it was outside of outside of big towns and everything else, but they were given homes. They were helped. They're being educated. They're being well looked after in terms of health, education, just general things that you need in life, food, all those kind of things. And people think they exploit. They don't exploit. They pay well. They look after you. It's against the Quran for them to exploit you. And people always think that the Islamic people and the Muslim people are there to exploit. No, they're not. They pay fair price for fair production. Fair price for fair production. Okay? So when they invest in South African companies, it is because they're buying your knowledge, your labor, and your time. That is what they do. They invest. But you must understand that there is a lot of things when a person looks at halal. Halal is not just food, guys. And a person looks at haram, it's not just what the person thinks, okay? Prohibited or forbidden activities underlying to business, haram. The Quran especially prohibits financial activities which involve prohibited economic activities. These include anything to do with pork, alcohol, weapons, or conventional Western financial institutions. Now, guys, in terms of the Quran, it is very important for Islam for peace. They don't like war. They don't want to fight wars because it is against the Quran. To take a life is against the Quran. no matter it's wars, whatever. That's why you won't see true Arab nations going to war, because that's not, unless they are attacked, obviously it's a different scenario. But a person it's very important to understand those things, because it's a very moral basis upon which to do business. Okay, so they will always pay a fair price for fair production. They believe you need to work for your money. That is what they believe in. You must work for your money, and they have, every one of them have to pay zakat, which is a percentage of your income, for charitable things, to look after people that don't have money, and that needs help. And they take their profits. And this is why you look at the United Arab Emirates. Yes, it's big, massive, beautiful city, some of the most beautiful buildings. They're reclaiming the desert, everything else. But they look after their people. None of their people need or want for anything. Their basic needs are cared for, because that is their moral responsibility. And trust me, it's not going to be a situation where, okay, now you're paying for people to have food and all that, and now you're buying away into heaven as such. Allah is very hardcore. Allah is very hardcore. Peace be upon him. He's very hardcore. Two rights isn't going to fix the wrong. You will answer for every wrong you do. So in their society, they have got to, every single day of their lives, ask the question, am I doing it right? And it's, man, I'll tell you, as I've gone now through all these studies and how things work, it's a very honest way of doing business. And when we do business, a lot of times in a capitalist market, we don't always say everything, because we try and hide as much as we can. But the big thing in Muslim finance, everything needs to be transparent. There cannot be questions asked later, because then that contract is invalidated. It's void. And the big thing there is that everybody shares the risk. In Islamic commercial law, everybody shares risk. Risk cannot be just on one party. Okay? It doesn't work like that. If a venture capitalist invests in your business, he's taking the risk to the value of his capital. So if he puts R1 million into your business, and then you put all your effort into it, and you do everything you can, and what you do is not a prohibited service or goods, and it fails, you lose your business, he loses the R1 million. That's the reality of it. Then it's done. There's no, okay, I'm going to come after you for the R1 million. Sorry, your risk was the R1 million investment. My risk was my time, my labor, my knowledge, putting all that time and effort into doing something. And when a person looks at halal and haram, the big thing there is that it mustn't be like a gambling institution, or selling booze, or producing anything that's got pork in it. But it's a lot more than that, guys. It's about being ethical. You can't have forced labor. You can't have a sweatshop going, stuff like that, because that is being exploitative and those kind of things. And that is not allowed. You're not doing things right. And they look a lot at risk sharing and the social justice, and that things are backed with assets and stuff like that, where, people don't risk losing it all. Okay? Or one party risks losing it all. And it's a brilliant way of thinking about it, because risk sharing is a massive thing in life. Okay, but when you deal with these modern banks and the European and Western banks, they don't take the risk. You borrowing the money, or you're taking that investment to build your business, you carrying all the risks. In Islam, it doesn't work that way. And for me, that's brilliant, because then you won't have debt bubbles that burst like we had in 2007, 2008, 2010, 2018. And the debt markets is heavy on the world. But again, it was the Americans. Capitalism was born in America. In 1776, it was born in America. And I took the original idea and put it onto steroids of note. And today it is so warped, because everybody owes everybody. And the debt burden for nations, for people, for individuals is so heavy that if you can't do your payments, you lose absolutely everything. That's not the Islamic way. It's not. They don't believe in creating that debt bubble and burden, because when it explodes, it destroys. And then The only ones that win is the banks. But unfortunately, I also had to learn that, if you lend out too much money, you literally risk also losing your banks. A lot of them had a lot of problems back then. I mean, man, it hit American property markets so badly. Morgan Stanley, all those kind of banks and stuff like that. They really lost a lot of money, but people also lost their homes. People lost their jobs. The world economy went into recession. All those kind of things. And you've got to understand that I wonder sometimes, and I think I'm gonna speak about it in part 3. As we all know, recent indications was that another 350,000 people lost their jobs in South Africa over the last quarter. And I personally need to understand that, and also how if you just think a little bit more Islam, you could turn things around in a proper and constructive and in a social justice environment. So guys, got your back. I'll see you in the next session. Have a good evening.